Hi everyone, and welcome back to my No Buy Year. Today I'm going to be talking about things that make me mad. Now, I've prepped for this video by putting on my calming Irises Van Gogh shirt and by making a list here of certain consumer practices that make me mad. And hopefully I'm not going to get too heated here. Hopefully I'm not going to fly off the rails. This is not a comprehensive video either. This is just a list of things from the top of my head. Some of these things I've gathered from the comments, things you've shared that make you mad, and consider this a conversation opener. Perhaps this can be a recurring series. I hope not. I hope this is all the things that make me mad. I hope there aren't that many other things that compel me to speak about them in this way. But I suppose only time will tell. So some of these are practices of advertising, some of these are product practices. Really anything is up for discussion in this video. So the first thing that makes me mad is planned obsolescence. This is one that many people have talked about and is bad for obvious reasons. If something is designed to only last a particular amount of time, a specific period of time, and then is designed to break or wear out so you have to go buy another one, it's just shamelessly wasteful. It's creating false needs. It's making consumers jump onto the hamster wheel of constantly having to buy the next thing or to upgrade or to replace something. So I just think this is an abhorrent practice that needs to stop now. And the brands that do this need to stop taking advantage of their consumers, because as individuals, we're not always going to have the power to decide not to buy from a certain company if their product is going to fulfill our needs at the time. So this is really a company problem, or perhaps a legal problem. We need to have laws that stop companies from knowingly doing this, or better enforcement for these laws if they already exist. I think I have seen stories about how companies have been sued for planned obsolescence, and I guess more of this needs to happen so that it stops being formulated in the designs. It even extends to things that are made so cheaply, even if it's not an intentional obsolescence maneuver, like updating software or making things obsolete as far as no longer being functional. But if things are made so cheaply that they're designed to wear out after 2 or 3 washes, that kind of amounts to the same thing in my mind. I think it's worth spending a few more dollars both as a consumer and as a manufacturer to ensure that these products don't exist anymore, and these things that are doomed to wear out in a very short amount of time. No amount of cost cutting is worth the impact of things that wear out too quickly. The next thing that makes me mad is marketing that preys on anxieties of humanity, or creates anxieties where there don't need to be any. And this includes things like trends, things like trending body shapes and facial features comes to mind as something that's wild and horribly predatory. And why are we daring to make people feel bad about the way that they were made, about the way that they came into the world? Why do we have a whole market of ways to change our appearance through surgically invasive methods, using resources that could be better saved for actually medically necessary procedures? I know we're getting into hairy territory here. Again, not to make a body metaphor, talking about hairiness, but what some person deems as medically necessary versus not is going to be a nebulous discussion. And, you know, people could say that a nose job is necessary for their self-esteem, and breast implants are necessary for confidence levels and things like this. But I do think it's harmful to have the trends of these procedures as elevated in social media as much as they have been. And again, it's not that I don't want procedures to be normalized in cases where they're necessary. It's not that I want people to feel alienated if they feel deficient and have wanted to get some of these things done. However, I don't want people to feel like it's the normal thing to do or something they should do because of how much they see it. So I hope the difference is clear in what I'm trying to say. And ultimately, my personal view on bodily autonomy is you do you with the resources that have been granted to humans on Earth. If you want to modify your body in such ways, you go ahead and do that. But what makes me mad is the trends and the advertising and the predatory nature of making people feel like they should do this or that they have to do this. Especially if it's through marketing that creates anxieties or tries to present that your life would be better if you did this thing that is not strictly necessary. Also kind of influencers and marketing that shows and glorifies extreme practices. And so therefore anything less than the extreme or greater than the extreme becomes normal. Like the spectrum of normal is widened, when in reality sometimes this can be damaging. And again, there are going to be examples that fall outside of the category of what I'm talking about. But in terms of consumer culture, when we consume so much or so little, anything in between is kind of more of the normal territory. I've talked about this before. And especially in examples of overconsumption, when we see examples of people that have 100 pairs of shoes, 100 handbags, and we have the urges also to consume more shoes and handbags, we can start to justify our 50 pairs of shoes as normal because we've seen the extreme of 100 or even more. I think if you look at celebrity closets, they have whole rooms sometimes dedicated to shoes and handbags. And this is just not something we would see if we didn't have the presence of media, of advertisers trying to show us these examples, trying to lull us into that sense of over-consuming being a normal practice. And then even to some extent, the cycle of consuming and decluttering and consuming and decluttering that influencers do as part of their jobs. This makes me mad too, because again, it normalizes that kind of binge and purge cycle related to buying stuff, to consuming the Earth's resources. And I just think it's harmful to see these things glorified so much on popular media. And by glorified, I don't necessarily mean that they're always presented in a positive light. I just mean by giving them the attention, the airtime, the ad space, we're kind of glorifying them by letting their presence exist in our human culture. Kind of going along with these ideas, something that makes me mad is telling us we should do something in the form of needing to add something to our lives. Anything where it says, run, don't walk to buy this. You need this. This is a must-have. These things are starting to make me mad, and I didn't see it this way before. Even as a logical person with somewhat of a language nitpickiness, I used to see these things as, well, that's not technically a must-have, is it now? But it didn't actively make me upset the way that it's starting to make me upset in this day and age. Because just hearing these things, hearing these examples of language used this way is going to shape our relationship with acquiring stuff and also using this language as another person, right? The more people talk like this, the more other people are going to talk like this. It's going to permeate society. The more people say they're obsessed with this pair of earrings, the more other people think that it's okay to be obsessed with a pair of earrings. And I'm not here to rain on the word parade and to demonize people for using words. And I would hypothesize that most people are just doing this for fun. They're not really thinking about the meanings like somebody with language pickiness does. However, it's just that trickle-down effect. It's just that normalization of these connotations that then are applied to attitudes towards stuff that is starting to really bother me at a deeper level. It's starting to make me mad. It's just making me think that human priorities are shifting in a negative way, and I don't want to be a part of that. And I'm sure I'm guilty of it too. I'm sure I use words imprecisely that give connotations that I don't mean to give as well. And it's something to constantly examine, at least for me, as somebody who cares about it. It's something that I want to always be examining to try to make sure that what I say and what I do lines up with my true values. Something else that really makes me mad in this age of technology is identity and information targeting. So apps and technology that gathers demographic information, the things you've looked at, things you've spoken about, to use to target ads towards you. This is really starting to make me mad, and it honestly feels illegal on some level. I know when we opt into any social media platform, we also opt in to the terms and agreements, and most of us, dare I say, possibly don't read these terms and agreements in full before we agree, because almost everybody has a social media account. Therefore, it can't be that bad if all these people have just ticked yes to the box. It's not going to destroy humanity if I don't read this and just agree, right? However, I guess what's happened is we've all kind of tacitly agreed to having our identity mined by these large companies that then use it to sell us things, to show us things to want, to try to cultivate these desires by, again, using some of those earlier tactics that make me mad, preying on the anxieties that we might have based on the things we talk about, post about, think about even in some cases, using the language that's going to target us the most, basically taking advantage of humans that are trying to connect and use the technology that exists by mining their information and using it to sell stuff, using it to fund their platforms in non-transparent ways. And people have talked about this before, like if there was just a fee to use TikTok or Facebook or YouTube and they didn't have to do this, maybe that would be a better alternative. But it would also radically change the shape of these apps. It would change how they operate and how things get shared. So it would look totally different, and I don't even know if that would totally solve the problem, or if there would just be different avenues for advertising. And chances are, in the capitalist nature of our society, there would just be a different avenue for advertising, and I would just be talking about something different that made me mad. Another thing that used to get me all the time, and if not get me to purchase, I would always read these, or almost always click on these when they were served to me, are articles completely focused on shopping. So I believe BuzzFeed, for example, has a whole shopping category. There's authors or people who are paid to scour Amazon for deals and products to write about, to compile a list of things to want, of things that you might need. It's kind of like the must-haves on social media, but it's in article form. So people who are readers, who like to educate themselves on the news or might be scrolling a Google newsfeed, can be served these in article form. And I used to click on these all the time. The 44 home products you must have. Right? It evokes some curiosity in me. Like, what are the 44 products that this person thinks you should have? And then sometimes it would lead to a purchase because I'd be so curious about what I read about. And I didn't even need to click on that article at all if I really thought about it. What am I going to gain from reading a list of 44 products that I didn't know about and didn't think I needed before I saw it in this article? So the existence of these now is just starting to make me mad because they really don't even need to exist. They're really just presenting things that we didn't even know we needed, didn't know we wanted, didn't know existed, for people to be taken advantage of when they click on that link of the article. Same with fashion trends. The Who What Wear website is basically compiled of articles that make me mad now. Fall trends. Sophia Richie just wore this shoe. Sydney Sweeney wore the shoe color that's going to be big this season. That's a real article that I saw. And the punchline is that it's a white shoe. She was wearing sweats, like sweatshorts and a sweatshirt with white shoes, and apparently that's the color of the season. Like, no, cut it out, please. Stop it. And again, more fool me for clicking on the article, but to be honest, part of my click in this case was because I wanted to see what they were going to say and share it with you on this channel, because it has reached the point where I see how ridiculous it is now and how stupid it is that these articles exist in the first place. It's not even targeting a specific need. It's literally, here's some products. Here's something that you might click on and buy. Here's a chance to present 10 different white shoe options for you if you want to, if you're in a spendy mood, if you happen to feel a certain way and might be susceptible to shopping. It's just ways to put these products in our faces under the guise of, you know, being mixed in with the news, or under the guise of fashion trends and having fun with keeping yourself up with the times, or whatever it might be. I'm not falling for it anymore, but these thinly disguised shopping articles or lists of products now are something that make me mad, that make me think when I see them, when I see the headlines, and now I'm feeling a particular kind of way, and it's not the kind of way that makes me want to buy something from their article links. Some kind of way that makes me want to take down these people who are paid exclusively to scour the websites for these deals, to invent these trends, to present products. And the ones that get me the most, have struck me as being the most scandalous in the past, the most hilarious perhaps, are those articles that are about looking rich, and then they present these lists of products that also cost $300 or $200 to $500. And at that point, you're not looking rich, you are rich, right? If you're buying $300 shoes on a regular basis, you don't need help looking rich. Another thing that makes me mad is content farming for consumerist content. Content farms in general make me mad on principle, just because, you know, they're these channels that churn out content, you know, that's their job. And oftentimes they use clickbaity titles, clickbaity trends. I think like 5 Minute Crafts is one of these channels. One of the channels that I like to watch, Ian Reardon of How to Cook That, often debunks these trends. So that's kind of how I know about these content farms. And I don't like this in principle as far as how it undermines creators who are genuinely creating their content from scratch, operating on their own. But I also really get mad now when I see these things promoting consumerist behavior. And again, some of it's along the lines of these Amazon must-haves. Some of it's also in the forms of these crafty trends that you need to try, and here's the stuff to buy. Whenever I just see this content geared towards getting people to buy something with no creative input from a person, from somebody who's put thought into this, I start to get really mad now these days. And these are the things that I think, why does this exist? I mean, I know why it exists, but how do we blow this up, right? How do we get rid of this? Where are the pipelines that we need to go? You know, I'm going to stop here so I don't get demonetized for violent content, but You know what I'm saying. We gotta go all Fight Club on these consumerist tactics. Incidentally, that's one of my favorite movies. It always has been, and now that I'm on this conscious consumer journey, it rings even more true as far as the premise that they had in the movie of taking down authority and subverting consumerist culture, especially where they talk about wanting to buy things to impress people that they don't even like. So maybe this was in me this whole time. This conscious consumer journey has always been within. Now it's finally coming out. So along the lines of advertising and content farms and product pushing, any kind of hypocritical marketing is now starting to make me uncomfortable. This one maybe doesn't make me mad per se, especially if it's a real creator who's making content, thinking about it. But if there is a product or sponsorship or PR feature in content that is geared towards consuming more consciously, minimalism, sustainability, smart finances, basically trying to improve your life in ways that are best improved by stepping off of the consumerist treadmill, and then pushing a product to consume in that piece of content or media. This is starting to make me uncomfortable. It's starting to ring the alarm bells in my own mind. And earlier in my journey, I had little chats about the concept of accepting PR, even for someone like myself, of doing sponsorships, of when it would be okay. And in the comments of these videos, and even in my own thoughts at the time, there were people saying that they understand that creators have to make a living, this is a way to make money, it's not altogether harmful, it provides support to a creator that we might want to support. And these things are all true, right? I'm not saying that these are untrue just because I'm now getting the alarm bells, getting the ick myself. These things both can exist at the same time. However, now I have reached a point where I see this as something that makes me unable to watch the content anymore. I can't get the message of the minimalism, of the conscious consuming, of curating with intention, of being smart with our money, when there's a product placement in the video. So you could call this a me problem. You could call this, I have reached a chapter in my book that makes me unable to open these books because I just don't like them anymore. It's of a different era for me. And I was able to read those books before, but now they hold no attraction to me and I can't even understand the information in them anymore because of the way that it's presented. And I did do a little bit of a chat on how influencers can make money without doing sponsorships and ads, even if it might be capped at a certain degree. It's kind of a fledgling conversation. It was kind of like a financial update here. But at the end of the day, the choice to be an influencer is a choice. It is not a necessary job to society. Selling products to people in the way that influencers do is not something that I would consider necessary. And again, feel free to open my perspectives in the comments. I will be reading them. I will be responding as I can. And I'm always happy to have my perspectives widened and opened by the things that I don't know that other people do know. But where I'm at right now, the way I see the career of influencing is it's a choice, it's a privilege, and we need to be responsible. Influencers need to be responsible with the power that they have as somebody being monetized through content creation. And when people are not responsible with that, when they do things that directly cancel out their message, it really makes me uncomfortable now. I think I've just reached my breaking point with that kind of example of hypocrisy. The final thing that makes me mad now is TikTok in general. Now, I'm not about to advocate for canceling TikTok, and I'm not against things like free speech and human rights in general, freedom. However, TikTok makes me mad. I think short-form content in that kind of platform that you just scroll through, you get a snippet. If you don't like it, you just scroll away. I think it's dehumanizing. I think it doesn't allow creators the chance to fully express themselves. I think it lends attention to a very particular type of presentation. Not to say that I've never seen anything good on TikTok, right? If all I saw on TikTok was the heartwarming things, the important information, the education, I wouldn't have a problem with it at all. It's partly the fact that TikTok itself pushes the consumerist narrative. It has now got a shop feature that is interspersed with your content at a ratio that I find unacceptable. Back when I did the video of spending 15 minutes on TikTok, I got, 5 or 6 TikTok shop ads, and not very many posts from the people I actually follow, and then another PR haul that I didn't want to see, frankly, but did a video about because it was so scandalous to me. And this is the kind of content that TikTok is glorifying with its attention and putting out to its consumers, its viewers. So I think this not only is dehumanizing to creators and their ability to express ideas or to be listened to and heard and not just swiped away from, but I think it's dehumanizing as far as viewing its consumers as purchasing entities, right? I, as a viewer of TikTok, am just somebody with a credit card who can buy what they're selling. I'm not a human. They don't care about serving me content that I'm actually going to like. They're just trying to hook me on the platform, show me a few scandalous things, show me a few things that I might like and hope to see more of, and then intersperse this with things to buy, things that I don't need, things that I didn't know about, things that I wouldn't have wanted if I hadn't seen them on TikTok. Now, I haven't wanted anything on TikTok for a very long time, granted, but there was a time in years past where I would be influenced to buy things. Not on TikTok Shop, I was never in quite that deep, but if I was younger, I might not have such a skepticism for shops on social media. There was a time when I was more susceptible to the product glorification on TikTok. And as somebody who was there and is now here, it makes me mad now. It makes me mad to see it. I want it to stop. I want it to go away. I want TikTok to become a more happy place where we see dancing people and animals and people sharing inspiring stories. I did see somebody talking to one of the survivors of the Hiroshima bomb, and that was amazing to see. So I want to see that kind of stuff. And if that was all that I saw, or if that was the majority of what I saw, then I might actually spend time on that app. But as it stands, I don't even open it anymore. Not at all. And the thought that I might open that app and see PR hauls, sponsorships, TikTok Shop products, restocks that are just stupid, girl math and trad wives presenting unrealistic examples of life and body trends and you need this and go run and get that, it just makes me mad now. I don't want people to be dehumanized, and I don't want to be dehumanized either, treated as just somebody who can purchase something they could purchase something. They might not even care if I'm human or not. I could be AI with a credit card. Anyway, we're becoming unhinged. Like I said, this is not necessarily a comprehensive list. This is just the things that I had to talk about today that make me mad. I'm sure I've left things out. If there's something I haven't talked about that makes you mad, or if something I've talked about also makes you mad, I want to hear about it in the comments. Let's make some noise. Let's convey our upset with the people that have the power to change this, perhaps, and see what we can do here, right? Let's strive to be anti-consumerist. Let's strive to change these platforms and other people. Let's be overly optimistic about our ability to do so, perhaps. I mean, that's what I'm doing by being here and creating this content in the first place, so I would love it if you would come along with me in this perhaps unfounded optimism, and thank you for being here in the first place and listening to what I have to say. All right, on that note, I will wrap it up there. Bye for now, and see you in the next one.